Okay, our final speaker is Nicol-Bowie from Lift, and maybe you could explain what Lift is before you give us your perspective.
Yeah, Lift is it stands for Low Income Families Together, and it's based in Muirhouse Millennium Centre. So it's obviously one of the highest deprived areas in Edinburgh, in Scotland. Sorry. What happened? Lift came about because I worked for a GBA. I've worked in the North Edinburgh for 20 odd years, and I worked for a project called Making It Work, which was a big lot funded project, and it had all these different criteria that we had to stick to while we were working. And I had a group of young women that were in Royce and Waterburn Community Centre, and out of 80 of them, 5 of them suddenly became homeless because of the new benefit cap that came out. So when the benefit cap came out, and then started making the rent so that suddenly, maybe sort of around about Christmas, some of the mums paid nothing to their rent. And then come January, because of the benefit cap, they were asked to pay £400 a month of the money that they didn't have, that the exact same as what they had in the December. I had a wee sort of paddy myself and met with Willie, and we took all the mums and the buggies and that up to the city chambers, and we, as Willie says, we invaded them, and we stopped the council meeting, and her mums were all singing, and they trapped the councillors in a big circle with their buggies so that they had to stop and talk to them. They had no choice, because it was the only way that we were going to get them to listen. We had been to the housing, we had their homeless assessments done, we had been, I mean, you're talking, I was driving these girls about with their kids and their luggage in the boot of my car, because you have to go and sit in the council office all day till they find you somewhere to go, whether it's a hotel, a bed and breakfast, or a temporary accommodation, which is very few and far between. And this was a constant thing for me day after day. And I went to Willie and Lynn McCabe and just said, I'd had enough. I just, like, what do I do here? So it was coming up to the end of that project. The funding had finished, and I had got a wee bit of funding. So I went to Muirhouse and said to Peter, can I have a room and a laptop? And 3.5 years later, we're still here. So it's been a good move, because I can do what I want and shout as much as I want and make as much noise as I want. But what I do is take the mums along. So we've delivered, I think, 3 deputations, Willie, it's now, to the council about homelessness and about the state of the conditions of the houses that they're given. I take the mums along, we deliver the deputation. Now, one of the mums was homeless when I took her, and she delivered a deputation. Her luggage was in the back of my car when we went. And she is now working with me. She's been working for me for 3 years now. And she's been up and delivered another 2 in exactly the same thing. And she's embarrassing them by saying, why am I still here 3 years later, when I was here when I was homeless, and I'm here again, and I'm here again. And obviously we can't go now, but she's due to go and do another one when everything opens up again, to say nothing's changed. If not, it's got worse. You know, you tell people they're going to be in temporary accommodation for 18 months. We have a mum sitting there for 3.5 years now. And I know they're going to blame COVID, of course they are, but I don't think it would have made any difference. She'd still be sitting there. She's 2 hours away and travels 2 hours every morning to bring her kids over to Craig Royston High School, because they've already taken her furniture, they've taken her house, and she cannot allow them to take the kids to school. It's the only thing they have left. So all the staff that work for Lift are all, they've got massively Lift experience rather than qualifications. They've all had homelessness, they've had caught in the benefit cap where they've had to go and get a job rather than lose their house. Most of them are in private accommodation, which is the biggest sort of housing in the Muirhouse and Waterburn and Granton area, because there's hardly any council houses available now. We have families who are living in a private accommodation, and next door's a council, and they're paying £900 for theirs, and the rent for that council is £400. It's crazy. We had someone in temporary accommodation in Feature Court that was £1,900 a month for her rent. That was temporary accommodation through the council. So again, I went up and was like, whoa, I think, like, what are we talking about here? She's just been given a letter of debt for £19,000. And I remember saying to Willie, I think the comma's in the wrong place, because I thought it can't be £19,000, but it was. They had to put her house benefits through. So for all the whole time she was sitting in temporary accommodation in Feature Court, which is a high-rise flat, which is, the conditions of these flats are shocking, and they are paying £1,900 a month for her to live in there. And they would have gave her a council house that's going to cost £500. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. So again, we go on about this all the time. Well, I mean, Lift's never going to give up the fight housing conditions and people being in temporary accommodations, and we're always in there somewhere making a noise about something. But unless they stop this social cleansing and keep putting people out and building mid-market rents, private sales, and a wee bit of council houses, they're never going to get these, they're never going to have houses for these families. They take them, they put them in temporary accommodations, or they move them and decant them while they knock the houses down and say, we'll give you back again. And then they build 33, 33, 33. So where's the, like 66% of these families are still out the area and they can't ever get back in because there's no houses for them, So it's, I didn't see, unless they start building council houses in our area to bring our families back in again, I don't know how we're ever going to get the people that are in temporary accommodation. And we've got them in Western Wales, Northfield, Portobello. Remember, really, they tried to send them to Newcastle for temporary accommodation. I mean, I was just like stomping my feet in that housing office like a lunatic because I wasn't moving until, what do? You're standing there with a family with suitcases and 2 kids, and they'll say, well, you can go to Newcastle. No bother, pal. I'll just jump my train. I mean, it was just, some of the things we saw over the years is just horrific. And it's going to take people like yourselves before they're going to listen and make any changes, And as a case of trying to get as many sort of organisations on board with this as well, and you're going to make the changes, because the council are just never going to do it unless we keep on bombarding. I mean, I meet with councillors constantly, and Willie usually takes my mouth when we go on quiet. But they need to hear these. They need to hear the stories of the conditions that people are living in, the times that they're living in, the amount of time they're spending coming back and forward to the schools. It's just, I mean, they really need to hear these real stories. And I'm not going to say they're going to listen because they've heard them a million times, but it's still happening. And COVID is making it even worse because they're sitting in these accommodations for even longer. So that's the story you left. It's Willie's fault I'm Bobby that I've started lift.
Perfect. Thank you so much for speaking. Honestly, the work that you're doing, is great. And the fact that, these women are having to go for, years and years on end without accommodation and, given these deputations and stuff is ridiculous. But hopefully, with us screaming and shouting and stomping our feet in their offices, they will eventually listen.